So I'm sitting here with the legendary Andy Erwin of Kingdom Story Company. Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, man. It's a privilege to be with the SALT community. It's amongst our friends. This is our people.
That's so cool. It's totally true. I mean, you got a lot of people who want to do what you're doing. How long have you been making feature-length films?
So my brother and I got started doing, AV work and, working for church camps and all that kind of stuff that was back 30 years ago, but we've been making features for about 15. We did music videos for a while, got really good at blowing things up. If we didn't know how to end a music video, we'd blow something up. The last music video we did for Skillet, the treatment read, the band comes out, things blow up, it starts to rain, more things blow up, it stops raining, everything blows up, the end. And that's got 500 million views on YouTube. So, but we did that for years until we finally kind of made the jump into features 15 years ago.
You took a lot of risk with the first I Can Only Imagine. Obviously, we're on the precipice of I Can Only Imagine 2 coming out.
Right.
Talk about that risk of the first film. And obviously, you probably never could have imagined it literally would become one of the hottest movies.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things where you just kind of, it's insanity to bet on every hand. But every once in a while, you feel like you've got a winning hand, even if everybody else didn't see it. And so, it was originally developed at another studio. They didn't like our take. When they sat down with us, it just was like, hey, it's not a fit, guys. Or like, we, didn't like it the second time we read it, and we hated it the first time. And it was just like it was not going to work. And so we found out the rights were available, and we went and purchased the rights to be able to make it ourselves. And so,
which is a whole crazy
process, crazy, and I don't recommend it. And so we raised a blended fund to make and market it of $15 million, or $7 million to make it, and we got into it. And we had written the role of Arthur, the dad, for Mel Gibson, and we're recording him heavily. And then at the last minute, he took another movie, and so we didn't have enough budget to stop and back up. The day we started filming, there was an article that came out in one of the big trades that said the music biopic is dead. Like, we picked a winner, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we didn't have anybody playing the father, had no name cast outside of Trace Adkins, and I came home from my first day on set and I had a panic attack. I was like, God, I can't breathe. And I was like, I'm either making the best movie ever or the worst, and I don't know which one it is. And God was like, is that okay? I was like, no, I want to survive. And he's like, if it's the worst movie ever, that's my problem. He's like, go tell your story. And there's a powerful moment as a creative when you can stop worrying about self-preservation and you let go of the boat, and you're going to like, I'm going to swim for shore. Yeah. And if I drowned, I drowned. And you accept your fate as a dead man, and you just do the best you can. And there's this wild abandon that comes like, what else do I have to lose? And sometimes in that, you do your best work. And 3 weeks into production, Dennis Quaid's on the phone, decides he wants to play the father, and comes in and gives one of his best performances in that one scene at the breakfast table. It's one of the best things I've ever seen Dennis Quaid do, and was so proud of it. And then all of a sudden, we're like, we have a hit movie. And
was that the moment that you kind of knew this thing has opportunity? Yeah,
we were sitting on set. Dennis, I only had him for 8 days. He came in dialed into another level, and he gave his performance, and we did all of his close-up work. And it was magic. I mean, it was magic. It was palpable. And we flipped the camera around to do the close-ups for John Michael, who was a new actor from Broadway. And John Michael responded and upped his game. And I'm like, we've got great and great. And I'm just eating popcorn, watching the movie by the monitor. And that was the moment. It was like, this is a moment. This is going to work. And fast forward to that, following March, it opens in theaters. We were only predicted to do $2 to $4 million opening weekend. And it did 17 million, and then it went on to do 86 million for its run. And so it was just one of those rare moments that you can't predict it. But what's replaced in like identity, like when you lay it all down, what I felt in that moment is I didn't feel like validation of like I'm successful, I'm a big filmmaker, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I felt gratitude. I just felt gratitude, like God did something. I got to have a front row seat, and that's rare. And so, I just sat there and just with tears in my eyes, and like, okay, God, this is you.
That prevails, though, through a cast, I have to imagine. Having that, I mean, just like in any organization, a leader sort of, the oil drips from the beard. I have to imagine that Dennis Quaid, Michael scene, the idea that like Dennis's performance leveled up everybody else on that set.
It did.
What do you do intentionally to build culture in your community?
With culture, it's really about It's this philosophy of it's amazing the things a person can accomplish when they don't care who gets the credit. I think Ronald Reagan said that, but originality is forgetting the source. So, but it's like that idea that if we all get our fingerprints on this as a team, and we all make this something special, we all get to take the bow together, and it's not about who gets the credit.
Yeah.
There's something really special with that, and with cast, I like actors are something that I love working with actors, and actors want safety. They want to feel safe. They want to feel a part of a team. They want to feel safe. And if you can make somebody feel safe, they will let their guard down and stop worrying about how they look, and they'll be in the moment.
How do you make someone feel safe? How do you make a cast feel safe?
I think you see them as people and not as opportunities. I think so many times as creatives, we have this vision in our head of what we want to make. And so we just see people as commodities.
Yeah. They're not just a monkey performer.
Yeah. And I think they need to be seen as people.
Yeah.
And I don't care how big a name actor it is, they're a person.
Yeah.
And if you can see them as a person, that they have, their own backstory, their own traumas, their own fears, and paranoias, and you embrace them for where they're at and give them a safe place. And as Christians, that's the opportunity for the gospel. Yeah. Is a lot of times these people have not been in a safe place the majority of their career. And when you provide that as a Christian, there's a real opportunity, and we cast the movie accordingly.
Wow. I'm curious. I'm just sitting here thinking about the fact that you treat people as your cast as people, not opportunities. How many of maybe not how many, but are all of your actors in every movie you've done a Christian, or?
They're not. I actually cast very intentionally the opposite direction sometimes.
Tell me about that.
I feel really called. John and I both had this philosophy as we kind of came up in the industry of the idea of targeting benevolent skeptics, people that aren't hostile to Christianity. They just don't know they need it.
Yeah.
Because if the opportunity at hand is evangelism, that can be through the product, and it can also be through the process.
Yeah.
That's really good. I'm going to write that one down. So it can be the product, or it can be the process. And so when you cast people that are on a journey, it eliminates the fear, because it's like, I think a lot of times as Christians, we're afraid that if we work with anybody different than us, somehow we're going to be infected. And I think as long as I'm controlling the content and I control the message.
You're also the director.
And I'm also the director. Yeah.
I need more empathy.
Then we can cast accordingly. So like some of the people that we've cast, are on their own journey. And so like, for instance, on American Underdog, I work with Anna Paquin, who's an Oscar winner, is the youngest Oscar winner in the history of the Oscars. So won Oscar, I think, at age 9 for the piano. And Anna read the script playing Brenda Warner, and Brenda Warner, Kurt Warner's wife. And she read the script. We had a Zoom, and she said, this story has connected with me on a level that I can't explain. I love this character. But she said, can we talk about the elephant in the room? My views are completely opposite of yours, and I'm not really a person of faith. And she said, is that a problem for me playing a Christian?
And you said,
and I said,
Anna, it just connected with you.
Yeah. I was like, Anna, absolutely not. It's not a problem, as long as you can fight to correctly portray and understand the faith of the person that you're playing in the movie. And I said, if you could do that, then there's no issue. She's like, well, I do that with any character I take on, especially a real life character. I said, then who wouldn't want to cast an Oscar winner? And so she came in her first day on set and was like, I've watched every one of Brenda Warner's Women of Faith speeches. I've read every one of her books. She talks about it being a relationship instead of a religion. She talks about being a born again. What does it mean to be born again? How do you become born again?
Goodness.
And I would have these like hour conversations every day with Anna Paquin about the gospel. It's evangelism.
Yes.
And so we cast the best actors as long as they can have a respect for our audience and the faith of the person they're portraying. And most recently, that was the case for Milo Ventimiglia in this new film playing Tim Timmons. He really got Tim's faith right, and he killed it.
Wow.
And he had a respect for it. And as a result, I think it sinks in.
That's so cool. You're working on I Can Only Imagine 2 right now.
Yeah.
It's done shooting.
Yep.
I want to go through the creative process of that a little bit.
Sure,
We've got
absolutely.
a lot of creatives in our community. What was the greatest, hurdle or obstacle or challenge you had to overcome? Because let me give context real quick. I have to imagine a lot of people are listening or watching this going, okay, Andy, Kingdom Story Company, Lionsgate, you got lots of money behind you. I have come to learn no matter how big the budget is, there's still a budget, right? Like
and the problems are the same.
Yes. So talk about
it's heartbreaking
challenge or a stumbling block that you guys had to overcome in the creative process there.
Yeah, no matter how much budget you get, it's the same problems. It's just they just become more sizable, but there's the same issues. And so going into this one, we had a philosophical issue that we had to overcome and some practical ones. Philosophically, the story of this one is about the song Even If, and it's about Bart's journey that we break happily ever after, and we answer the whole end of the equation in a different way. And so the first movie was a father-son movie. It was Bart's father as an abusive father, and it's Bart towards his father as the son. And this one, Bart is the father, and he's trying to connect with his teenage son, and through tragedy and loss and a lot of different things until he finds something better. And so going into it, we're like, sequels are hard because I didn't want it to be a cash grab. I didn't want it to be something that we just did it because we could. Yeah. I wanted it to be a reason. And there's been a lot of sequels in our space that were just doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it's like it's a formula that worked. Let's do it again. But you wanted to make it original. You wanted to make it unique.
Yep. And so our problem was, how do we get a Paddington 2? Paddington 2 is a better movie, even though Paddington 1 is a great movie. And it's like, how do you get a better movie? And so we fought really hard to nuance it and make it somewhere new and fresh, to introduce you to all these characters you love and take it somewhere completely unexpected. The thing I love about the movie is when audiences see it, it just did its test screening with Lionsgate with a test audience. It scored higher than the original.
That's amazing.
And that's just a tribute to the amazing team that put it together and that the story is that much better. And so if you love the first one, this one is a better story. But it was hard. We had to fight really hard and listen to the audience to get it right. Second one was the technical issue. It was like we end the movie at Red Rocks. And I picked Red Rocks, and they were like, because I thought it was a cool location.
How many days did you get at Red Rocks?
I had Red Rocks for 6 hours.
I was going to say, because most people don't get it more than a day.
Yeah, so Red Rocks is booked for 3 years in advance.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
There's a band there every day. And the rest of the year it's under snow. And so...
and you didn't plan this 3 years ago.
No, we planned it like, it'd be cool if we shot this at Red Rocks. Yeah. And so somehow the band got one date. We had one date.
This was Mercy Me.
Mercy Me.
Okay.
And they got it for one date. And we had the venue for a total of 6 hours that we could film. And so we did a split show where Mercy Me did half a concert and we shot for the other half of the concert. And the fans stayed till 2 a.m.
All day.
They are insane. They did so great.
Goodness.
But 8,500 people. But we had enough time because there was a noise ordinance and a whole bunch of other stuff after midnight. We had enough time to shoot everything towards the audience, all the big stuff.
Yeah.
And Red Rocks isn't an easy place to film in, but it's gorgeous. So we shot all that way. So I went to the producers and I said, guys, we need to build a scale model, a 2/3 scale model of the Red Rock stage on a sound stage to film all the close-up work. And they're like, that'd be cost prohibitive. I'm like, you're right. Well, what we could do is go back out to Red Rocks and film a second date there and just go back out and film another date for all the close-up work. And they're like, we'll build you a stage on a sound stage. And so we built everything, and the sound stage, the art team killed it, and it's so cinematic and so big and so beautiful. Hearing Even If played with that crowd was sacred, and what the crowd did that was unexpected is when it got to the big chorus at the end, like impromptu, this crowd of 8,000 people stood to their feet.
That's amazing.
And it was just like chills. And I was like, there's video footage of me on my Instagram where I'm like freaking out, losing my mind, being like, is this happening? Is this happening? This is magic. So it's so hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice, but this movie does it. And it's not because of me. It's just because the story's that good.
You've got such a team that's a part of this. Give me a timeline real quick. Obviously, a lot of our community may not have as much time as you have.
Right.
How long does it take for a film from original concept to completion, right? So like before script.
Yeah, it takes about, anytime I come to a story to direct it, it takes about 2 years of my life.
Wow. Do you ever do multiple stories concurrently?
Yeah, I mean, I'll produce, I only direct about every third or fourth movie, and me and Josh Walsh, my producing partner, and our producing team, Daryl and Caitlin, we'll do 2 to 3 films a year. But I only direct every third or fourth.
Which means you're now on set all the time.
Yeah, I'm not on set all the time. So but to do it from start to finish as a director is 2 years of your life, and it's really, there is a real clarity that comes when you look at a story. You're like, this is a good story. Is this story worth 2 years of my life? And if you say no, it's not, then then abandon.
You got to believe it,
and you have to really believe it.
What would surprise our audience, Andy, as to the longest time period in the process?
The longest part of the process is figuring out what it is. The technical part, once you have a script that's ready to go, like there's a methodology that it's like.
How long are you actually shooting in that 2 years?
I mean, you shoot for about anywhere from 30 to 60 days.
Wow.
And you work on editorial, and then you work on music, and then you work on sound, and we shot, I can only imagine, this past April, May, and it'll come out in theaters February 20th. So it's a short process once you get it ready. It's like clicking to the top of a roller coaster.
Is that weird? Like, you've got all this bent up creative process, and the first day on set, is it almost emotional? Like, wow, we're finally here.
There's moments that are magic where you're like, this is happening. For me, the most magic day on I Can Only Imagine 2 was the final day of shooting. And there's a gorgeous moment with Dennis Quaid's character, Arthur, in this. Don't ask me how. Like, do we resurrect him from the dead? I don't know. Come see it now. It'll surprise you. But there's this gorgeous moment. And I have Dennis Quaid on set with John Michael Finley playing Bart, same guy. And we're sitting outside under the stars. And at this moment, it was just this still, surreal moment that when you experience something magic like the first one, you never think that you're going to get a chance to go back and revisit it. And sitting with that group of people, I got tears in my eyes. I was like, this is why I make movies.
Yeah.
And to tell stories like that make people feel things and that point them ultimately to truth.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a growing appetite for faith film in culture right now, and an ability of a group of people to be able to tell stories that the quality is getting better. And I'm excited to see what God's doing.
That's so cool. I want to know, you've talked about the magic moments in filmmaking. If you can, in the brief time we have left, are there any not so magical moments? And how, give me an example, and then how do you correct it? Or has there ever been a moment where you're like, we just didn't have the budget, we didn't have the time, we didn't have the resources to fix it? Any Easter eggs you can give us?
100%. There's horrible moments. To lead with my weakness, in honor of what we just did downstairs with the Humble Games. So my first experience was on the AV team for this Christian camp up in upstate New York, church camp for 500 high schoolers. And I was 18 years old, just started college, and they found out that I had film experience, the AV experience, and they put me in charge of making short films for the kids. So I had my brother come up and work for me, and we made these short films together. And so the first one was this Knights of the Round Table kind of King Arthur kind of deal. It was a little 10-minute short. Ended with pyrotechnics live on the stage.
Goes back to your music. Yeah, I see where the music
incredible. This was the seeds of it. It gets to the end of it, and we were like already giving our Oscar speech in our head that this was amazing. And it gets to the end of it, pyrotechnics go off, and it's crickets. Not a word. It's just silence. And then this one 12-year-old kid on the front row goes, "Is that it?" It so scarred me for life that John and I cannot sit through one of our films. If we're in an audience and they're showing one of our movies, we have to go outside and pace, because we're convinced this guy's going to come back as a 45-year-old man. It's 45-year-old man on the front row and be like, "Is that it?" And I'm like, so he's going to come back. So it's like, it's those moments. The other moments are like, I remember we were doing never work with animals, live animals. It's never fun. And so we were doing this Bible short film stuff way before The Chosen was being made. We did these Bible short films that was a work for hire thing that we did before we did features. And we were filming with a bunch of sheep and the shepherd, and we were filming in these like salt flats area like of Utah. And I remember the sun was setting, the light was perfect. We called action, and one of the sheep got spooked and just took out across the desert. And then all of them followed suit. And the last thing that we saw on the monitor was the animal wrangler on a four-wheeler chasing these sheep out across the desert in the middle of the sunset. And so I'm like, well, that's a wrap. So, you never know. You just like, there's days where it works and there's days where it doesn't. And I think the encouragement I would have for the creatives is on the days when it falls apart, give yourself a second to feel the defeat and realize that the show goes on and it's not the end of the world, even though it feels like it is. Lick your wounds, get up, and get back to work.
That's so good.
So
good. The new movie, I Can Only Imagine 2, comes February 20th.
Yep, February 20th.
What can we do as a community to help support this? How can the whole SALT community kind of come alongside this?
I think, each person represents, churches and, ministries and groups that have audiences. And, the goal for our films is to do stories that move people, but ultimately that are a tool for the local church. It's what Jesus did with parables. He taught stories two ways.
That's right.
He would tell his parables that would plant this emotional seed. We call it emotional jamming. If you can wedge put a wedge between somebody's heart and their head and make them feel something, there's a moment where their defenses go down, and that feeling sticks, and then it begins to challenge their thinking, and that's the opportunity for the gospel. That's what Jesus did with his parables. He would do that, and people would come back to him and say, "What did that mean?" And that's the second part. That's the church's job, is when people come back and they say, "What did that mean?" And they're like, "Let me tell you the rest of the story." So we just plant that emotional seed. That's that vicarious emotional journey. It's only a tool, and it's only a real movie if the church uses it. And right now, I think for a long time, as Christians, we all complain that, we had lost our seat at the table and that people took away our seat and that we didn't have the opportunity to tell our stories. But if you look at the history of the arts, and you go back and you look at every, cathedral in Europe, and you look at every painting of the Renaissance, you realize, we led this thing, in storytelling
for decades,
for thousands of years, like for 2,000 years, until the 1960s somewhere. We were like, hey, we don't do movies, it's bad.
Yeah.
And we walked away from storytelling, and it atrophied, and we didn't get our seat taken away from us. We gave it up.
Yeah.
So, in the past 20 years, God has begun to allow us to earn our seat back. And the reason is the audience realized they have a voice, and they started showing up and buying tickets. So the best thing you can do if you want more products like this is to get the word out. Opening weekend is huge. And tell the people that you serve, this is a story worth seeing. And I promise, if it is a kingdom film, it will be good. And it's worth the price of admission, and we'll have the opportunity to preach the gospel. And so, fill the theaters.
I love it. That's awesome. February 20th, I Can Only Imagine 2. Andy, thank you for being here, my man.
It's an honor, and love the SALT community.